All right, time frames. We're gonna go over time frames. Um, it's important to know and to respect the time frame you're on. What do I mean by that? If you see a setup on a higher time frame, so I will talk about how I scan in a different video, but for this example or for this section, I might go back and forth. I still haven't fixed my indicators. Fucking last video, what's it called? I accidentally clicked on remove 9 drawings and indicators, and it fucking sucks setting them up again. But anyways, time frames. Let's go to a cleaner chart. Let's go to Solana, USDT, Binance. All right, brothers and sisters. Time frames. Turn down the music a bit. Why is it important to respect your time frame? Holy fuck. He's looking nice. It helps with your invalidation. It helps to know how long to hold the trade for. It helps to know where your profit or your what you should expect for your entry. So, for example, I'm just gonna draw this here. We're looking at this. Let's use this for example. We see this. We also see that, all right? So I want to know if I could expect a bounce here based on the time frame I'm on, the 4. All right? So with that being said, I could even be like this. You know what? Let's stick with that because 1, 2, deviation, 3, 4. We'll stick with that. We'll commit to that being the trend. You could even, sometimes I'll even do this. Just to cover all my bases. Yeah, that's why trend lines are subjective, because you get shit like that. Like, do you draw it here, here, or there? You can draw them all if you wanted to, but let's say we want to nail this entry down here or here, but we want to catch the next bounce within this small range. We're only looking for a move up to here. If we go past that, that's great, but our entry will be down here, so we can take profit and then let it ride. But the idea is to, hang on a second, is to identify first if it's on a macro level. So I always zoom out to the day first, despite what I want to do. I'll already have these drawn on my charts that I want to analyze or whatever. But let's say it's on a new token that my friend has told me about or I saw on YouTube. Fib, macro it. All right, we have nothing good there. We have this as a reaction zone, so we could go like this, deviate, then bounce off of it. I'm going to leave that there. Then I'll go zoom in a bit. So arbitrary, it doesn't matter what, but I'm just trying to identify levels, right? Okay. Another fib to there. Hold. So we're coming up to a nice area that we can identify as a potential reaction zone. So we have 618, we have friends. Let's see what our VWAPs tell us. God, I hate that. All right, we're below there, but let's dial it in. Won't go too crazy because just example. Do we have anything useful that can help give us confluence to that level? We're above it. So when we flip this, let's see if there's a fib that ties in there. Five. Yes. So the 5 lines up with the 2, 3, 6. See, I color code them so I don't even have to look at what fib line it is. I could just tell by the color. We have confluence here as being resistance. You can tell here it respects a lot of this chunk right there. But I want to catch it down here. I'm not confident there yet. If I miss it, who fucking cares, right? Another day, another dollar. Another day, another chart. So we're gonna copy this. Let's identify a zone, right? These aren't exact levels, these are zones. That's why I like to draw boxes, because in or around it, it will react. So continuing with that, let's check what our order blocks tell us. Nothing good there. We're on the 4 hour. We originally started on the 4 hour. We want to be on the 4 hour because that's where we saw the divergence, right? We see a lot of this happening on this time frame. What does the higher ones tell us? Oh, okay. It wants to go up. So this scalp could turn into a very big swing around here. Let's go higher. Yeah, it's looking all right. It made a lower low on price. So maybe we're going to see some divergence, right? Maybe the price will do this, or the oscillator will stop there, curl up, brings us some divergence, while price hovers in or around here. That's where we want to catch it, because our signs tell us divergence can be printing because we're getting bullish signs on the lower time frame and it's about to reverse. So now that we check the higher time frames to maybe expect a higher move, what does the lower ones tell us? The lower ones will help us nail that entry. So you go to the 2 hour. Keep in mind, originally we wanted to take the 4 hour, and we still want to. That's our foundation timeline. And you see that the 2 hour is also looking juicy as hell, right? So I'm seeing good signs. What's my next thought? What's my drawdown? That's still too much to start a position here. I want to start it around here. My invalidation will be a candle close if I'm around the computer on my time frame 4 hours below this, right? If you're not around the computer and the price does this, where are you going to set your invalidation? If price goes below either of these points, because if it goes below, then it's a downtrend. Even though we are in a downtrend, we are seeing signs of a reversal where price is staying a little more sideways. We're getting a little more, we're getting bullish prints on low time frames up to the high time frames. The daily is showing us what? Potential reversal, and we bounced off of 618, a fib level. So we want to find that reversal. Go back to the 4. Everything looks juicy, mighty dandy. And go to the 1 hour. I don't have a set, whatever. I'm looking for signs, right? So I could be jumping around to different time frames, never the same ones, but I'm looking for signs. And what do I see on the 1 hour? price looks like it wants to start reversing. It might not reverse exactly because we're on the 1 hour. The 1 hour could do a lot of this, but on the higher time frames, look what it looks like. Just one candle, right? It's just noise when you look too close, when you look too under the hood. When you zoom in too much, you lose perspective of the bigger move. And the bigger move is the more, I guess, more important, or the bigger levels are the more important ones. Whatever the high time frame says, in between lower time frames, it could do a bunch of this shit. But in the grand scheme, like, look at this downtrend, but look at the same one on the daily. Right? It just looks like it's a fractal. It's just regular price action, right? So it's important to start looking and identifying zones on higher time frames than dial down. So if you're looking for a scalp trade, you're generally trading, like, I don't recommend scalp trading on anything other than Bitcoin when you're trying to learn. So by scalp, I mean holding trades for 2%, 3%, 4%. And that's on generally the 30-minute to 4-hour time frame, and 4-hour being your macro, and the 1 to 2 hour being your working time frame, right? So if you're looking for a swing trade to hold for a couple of weeks or a couple of days, or even 1 week, you're starting on the daily, marking your levels, then dialing down to the 4-hour. Scalps, 4-hour to 30 minutes. If you get an entry on the 30-minute and like, oh, we're going to Valhalla, and then, so for example, let's go, like, for example, if we're looking at just this section here, and you get it here, you're like, oh, we're going to the moon. Are the high time frames saying the same thing? The high time frame is not. Look, we're topped out at the high time frame. That's why it's important to look at higher time frames also to confirm a bigger move. That tells you how long to hold on to the trade for, right? So it's important, super important, to not get lost in time frames. Super easy to do. I've done it. I've gotten lost in time frames. I've fucked it up so many times by being overly bullish on a fucking 1-hour bounce, despite, so a 1-hour bounce could have been, you know, at the top, maybe here. That could have been the 1-hour bounce, and you're like, oh shit, yeah, we're going. Higher time frame though, at the start of this move, that's when the downtrend happened. Higher time frames show we're topped out, right? It's really fucking important to get used to that, to get that habit, to get that mentality, the psychology of how long to hold a trade for, what to expect from an entry, when to exit, right? So we've identified that as this area as my buy zone. All right. Well, you know what? Make it a little more visible box. Let's see what happens in there. We're watching the 4-hour, it's playing out. I've marked my levels, I've marked my trend. I've set an alert, which I'm doing now. I can't do an alert in replay mode, but let's say I set an alert here. And another thing that's really, really important is if I plan to take a trade here, what I'll do is I'll set an alert. I'll also draw one of these with my invalidation. being around there. My profit target, which is the channel high, it could be here if it, you know, don't be so rigid. You gotta understand also, because price could do this. It's still hitting the trend, but much lower. So this is a fucking vertical tool. You know, it's gonna go only up. It won't go diagonal. So you gotta really pay attention and be real about your exits. And I'll show how to identify exits later. But right now we're talking time frames. So 4 hour. I go next bar. Forward. Bounce off of my area into my zone. Why did I delete this? Validation. Again, I would have put it lower because I want it to hit the trend. Like I said, if I don't get it, then what? Who gives a shit? There's always another trade, right? But if you want to be a little impatient, I'll do it sometimes. But again, it depends on the psychology, mind state that you're in. If you believe that it's going to be a mover, there's a lot of buzz behind this coin, you can be a little more liberal with your stop range. And, you know, in my previous video, I talked about entries, the buffer strategy, by putting another order of the exact same size just before liquidation, which this looks like it could be, or I can ladder in if I'm confident on a really strong level. And I'll give another example of that later. But we got our alert. We hit our first buy. If we laddered in, maybe potentially our second buy. Boom. See that? We got that sign there. What's the high time frame telling us? Now that we're at resistance, do I want to take profit here because we identified rejection, support, 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 support. So you can label that area as significant, right? So, and we also have a VWAP tying in as confluence. What does our prime blocks, order blocks tell us? There's nothing there yet. It's a 2 hour, say. Okay, look. We got confluence of that being a resistance area on a low time frame. So what did the low time frame tell us versus the higher time frame? High time frame, it still has a little bit of juice to go higher. So maybe it'll break through that resistance and keep going higher. But if my time frame was the 4 hour and I saw the setup on the 4 hour, I have to respect the 4 hour. So if I'm seeing reversal prints on the 4 hour, I'm going to label this area here as a danger zone. Danger zone being resistance, right? So if we get rid of that, we see a nice reversal here. I'm gonna get rid of this because now we're in the trade. Take my fib tool. We can identify this cluster here because it lines up with a fib. The 618 is here. Where's the 786? Right out of trend, right? So if our high time frames are telling us move is weakening, same with the 4 hour. If it was reversing, we got a lot of this shit printed right there. Then we get divergence. Whoops. And we get our divergence print. You can maybe expect that. A deviation back in. Divergence shows the move is weakening, but it can, not all the time, but most of the time, will print a higher high in price action. So we've identified a danger zone here, but we also can find confluence with this move here, lining up with the cluster of danger. red or danger zone, right? You can delete that. I put a box there to identify. So when I come back to the chart, I can be like, oh shit, I marked that as a danger zone. I don't have to draw all my shit over again, right? The order block on the 2 hour shows us when it wants to show up. There, we got a bearish order block and it's red. So what my guessing price is going to do, maybe this. Maybe this. But I know that there's going to be a reaction there in the shorter time frame. That's why don't dial in too much, because it's going to fucking psych you out. Stick to a time frame and know the time frame that you're working with, right? So this order block lines up with my red, so I don't need to mark that because I have confluence now that I've seen multiple things tell me that there's going to be a reaction here close to the trend. Might even tap it, but who knows? It could be divergence, and on the second low high, that's when we go do this, reject off of it, and then do that, and then back down, right? Because we see that we're topping out, but divergence gives so much confluence, so much, I don't know what the word is, conviction, I guess, to the move, right? So turn this off, go back to the 4 hour because that's what we were looking at. We can see probably we're going to react there and go down. Are we going to, though? You can already see it's preemptively selling before it, right? Rejection, rejection. I'm not going to tell how to read candles, but you know what that means, right? Rejection zone. It's getting rejected. Rejected. Okay. So 4 hours coming lower, but I'm still interested because money flow is coming to the median. Volume is green. High time frames show us the move isn't over yet. The daily tells us what? It's looking good. So maybe I'll just shave a bit of profits. Again, this is an idea that it depends on your risk tolerance and how you structure your accounts. I will talk about that later, and it'll be a pretty fucking juicy video because it caters and it sets you up for success in terms of when you feel greedy, you have a degen account, but you also have a swing account that you're more responsible with, right? So we saw there was a reaction. Go back to the 4 hour because we identified it originally on the 4 hour. Let's check the bounce zones here. Bounce off the 50. So that's a nice bounce fib, and it lines up with this level of support. But that could also be a rejection testing the underside of this zone. We just got to wait and see. At this point, would I be adding to my position? I don't think so, because I'm still in this channel and it's been respected quite a few times, and I'm above the halfway point of this channel, which is probably about here, right? But I don't think I would add to it because that's a little too risky, because we don't have that confirmation yet on the high time frame. It's coming, but is this the time to do it? I don't know, so I'm not going to do it. Okay, that's literally my thought process there. Let's go to the next bar, see what happens. Okay, things are looking good. We're back at the danger zone. It's tapering off the money exit into positive. Volume's tapering up. Got a reversal sign, but we didn't get any divergence. So this leg could go high, but I'm not entering it if I'm brand new in this coin. We caught it down here, right? In this box. Back to the danger zone. I wanted to break through. Is the high time frame showing bullish signs? Yeah, it's looking good. Money flows green, volume coming up. The RSI is very sharp. It kind of cheated, like the way it printed that, but we popped out of it. I don't know why it showed it like that, but anyways. All right, things are looking juicy. Reversal. Consider taking profits. Right? You don't have to take the whole thing. 30%, 80%, let the rest ride, but depending on the macro of the market, and you check that with USDT dominance, total 3, and Bitcoin dominance. And I'll save that for another video, but this is timeframes. That's what I'm trying to focus on. So at this point, I might hold on a little longer because I haven't gotten bullish divergence yet, or bearish divergence, and the high time frames haven't tapped out, haven't shown me reversal signs yet. Nothing here yet. So it's a risk, but if I've taken profits, I've locked in some already, so I feel comfortable taking that risk. If I didn't take profits, I'd be more conservative, and that's where your account structure comes in. So back to the 4 hour. Set an alert. You can set alerts on trend lines as well. So you click on the trend line, and I'll show that in a different video because you can't do it during replay mode. But you can set an alert for when a candle breaks above, if it breaks below, if it closes above, if it closes below. There's different options, and I'll show you that after. But that's important to know that if you, again, time frames, you can get a fake out, but like I showed before, wait for the candle close if you're around the computer, because if it's a deviation, then, you know, it's not confirmed, right? It's just a fake out, market maker games. So before adding to this position, if it breaks out, I want it to have a 4 hour close because I'm on a 4 hour time frame. That's what I originally saw the trade on. Sometimes if it breaks above it, if it starts doing this, then I can go to the higher time frames because it becomes a swing trade, right? Same with the scalp. If I started on the 30 and then I notice it popped through, then I'm going to be looking to the 2 to 4 hour, 3 to 8 hour, right? It increases your time frame if it breaks major structure within that time frame. So we'll keep going with this, see what happens. We're above the VWAP now. It's testing. Okay. I'm comfortable adding from here to get my average entry to be here and my stop loss right there. Okay. So that's a 4 hour candle close. And boom, that looks good. This is printing divergence now. This high is lower than that high, but on the oscillator, it's printing a lower high. The other signs look good. Money's coming in. It's signifying a reversal is coming, but it's not going to send it to hell. We have some good support here. We've identified this already as support. This could be an SR flip, support resistance flip. So what we want to happen is this, boom, and then add there. That's very, very high conviction. Even if it does this, we're well below there, right? So our time frame matters. What you start on and what it becomes, right? Now I might switch to looking at the 8 hour. because what's it look like? Oh, it looks good, right? Now I'm going to identify my higher time frame resistances, which we're at one now. I can consider taking some profits, but then I want to look at the daily. What's the daily showing? Oh, it looks ready to do something, right? Because it's showing me divergence. So maybe I'll hold on to it a little longer, but I'll start using the 4 to the day time frame now that I've nailed it, right? Now that I've sniped my entry on the 1 hour. Look at that. It gave us a beautiful web of divergence. All these reversal prints. And that's why I like this indicator, because it talks to you, man. So good. And we can see that this is strong support, a good buy level, because that order block down here is majority blue, neutral in terms of sentiment, but there was a lot of buying action that happened down there. So this bounce is a good one to me. The 2 hour. Never this fucking slow. I don't know what's going on. Again, 2 hour shows that order block. Sometimes it won't show it for higher time frames, but if it shows it on multiple, you can bet that it's going to be respected. See, this bounce level was a good bullish order block. So I'm happy with this area being a good support area. So if it does come back down, I can expect it to do whatever it wants to do down here. For example, does this, boom. Within the box though, where's my stop loss? Down there. Did it hit it? No. Because I gave it some room. I didn't get too crazy. I added bit by bit by bit to get it to a good spot on the 4 hour, which is there. If you do it, if your original entry was like identified on the 4 hour, and then you use the 1 hour to you know, do your shit, there's a lot of noise in there. You might even identify some noise like this as, oh, I'm gonna go in there, you know, because it's an uptrend and that looks like a low, but you would have been stopped out. On the 4 hour, what does that area look like? It's just a cluster. There's nothing to identify there, right? So stick to the time frame that you're trading in. Respect its lows, which is this low, not that low, because we identified the trade originally on the 4 hour. So what does this do now? What's this telling us? We can delete this. We delete that. Delete the trend because we broke it. Now we have an uptrend to track. It's a little steep, but it's something to work with, and then it becomes dynamic as we go. But this looks like an undercarriage, a rejection of that level. Take this. Oh yeah, we can see the 382 purple, or I'll color it purple, a higher time frame resistance level. We've identified that already, and it lines up with price action, so I can expect some sort of whatever here. Let's look for some VWAP action. Let's maybe put it on this high. Ah, there, see? Confluence. Oh my god. So this area I'm identifying as a potential rejection zone. How do I see that? I can remove this because we've already consumed that area. So draw my fib. Lines up perfectly with that area. Turn off the 50. Check out what my order blocks tell me. Bearish order block within that area. Sublet red. Bearish order block up there. So I can expect a rejection around this area. Previous high, you look at that trend, it deviated out of it. but there is a cluster there, meaning that this is support, and you can see order blocks rejected from there. So this, I can expect some sort of reaction on, or maybe even in between it, but let's check it out. Let's see what happens. And you can see on the 4 hour already, divergence is printing. On the 8 hour, we haven't printed it yet, but strength is doing that. We want it to be sharp like these ones, like that move, right? It's rounding off, but money's coming in, so that big move is happening. We've broken this trend. We're going up. High time frame shows it's bullish. So I can hold on a little longer, see what it does. Entries down here, I'm safe. Right? Keep going. The retest of this support level, we broke out. It's a deviation, but if we go lower than this, back to that, support level, that's a fake out. But we want to know if it's going to respect this. Again, if the daily didn't show bullish divergence, and I was on the 8 hour, my working time frame is the 8 hour now, right? And I had a trend here that was respected twice. Again, a trend is 3 touches. But if I see a deviation and a candle close of the time frame I'm working with below the trend, I'm exiting. Even if it goes up, that's my rule. Because more often than not, when a trend is broken, it'll do this. Lower high, lower high, lower high, right? Reject off the underside of the trend, making a staircase down. Okay, so if I was only trading this based on the 8 hour and the daily wasn't good, that's an exit. But time frames, daily showing bullish, could even draw it like this. But see, that's where the experience comes in, right? The 8 hour closed, if I'm using this, closed below it. With experience, you'll be able to tell, am I going to exit all of it? I'll exit some. I'll take profits there, maybe half of it, and then let it ride for what I feel like is going to be a bigger move. That's the psychology of not being greedy. And then if I looked at the higher time frame, look, that got respected. We haven't closed on the daily, so maybe I can start moving to higher time frames, right? 12 hour hasn't closed below it yet. What do we see? Closed outside doesn't count, but now we have a trend to track on a higher time frame, more touches, right? Strength is looking kind of meh, so I'm going to consider taking profits once it hits here, if it hits there, right? But I'm thinking it'll do this, then that, which will give us this, maybe that. Okay? We'll leave that there just to see if it happens, but time frames. We started off on the 4, we broke a higher time frame level, a trend also, then I started moving up to the 6 or the 8. The 8, originally my trend was there, closed below. I looked on the high time frame and saw that it's still bullish, but my working time frame was the 8 hour, and my rule is that if it closes below the trend, it's really close to being invalidated. If it was a scalp, I would have exited the whole thing because low time frames are too volatile. Higher time frames, you can expect lots of fake outs. which this looked like it was if I was using that time frame. But now I have a better trend to track on a higher time frame. More touches on a higher time frame, the stronger the trend. On a lower time frame, 1, 2, 3 touches on the low time frame means shit. Okay, so it respected the trend again. Oh, not looking good. We're making lower lows, and that is starting to print lower lows. Strength doesn't look too good there. Thing is coming down, money flow, but I'm still in profit. I want to see if it's going to respect this bounce zone. And this is where it's different for everybody, because you'll see shit like this. Excuse me. You see shit like this. That's looking double toppy to me. But we're on support. Let's find fib level. Find some confluence. Now we're on a good support. 382. Okay. The 382 is a good zone that I'm looking at for a bounce right here. Boom, 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 boom. All right. Okay, so this is our broken trend now. I'm taking a bit of profit once it broke the trend, but I'm leaving a bit in to catch a bigger move maybe. Because the daily is still showing me that divergence is happening. It's playing out. But price is coming down. The oscillator, it looks like it's losing strength. I don't want to give that money back that I made from down here. Right? I'm taking bit by bit, but I'm still leaving some in to potentially grow. So 8-hour time frame. If we bounce off of this, then I'm looking at the daily, 12-hour, and 4-hour as my working time frames. This is a really tough concept to get used to. With experience, you'll be able to tell by recognizing certain patterns in price action, the oscillators, support resistance, and you'll come up with your own risk tolerance and what you feel comfortable with. If you want to leave some in the trade, if you want to close it. I found what worked for me by taking bit by bit, but leaving some in, to catch that move. 8-hour, keep going. We'll look at the 4-hour now to see if we're getting a good revert. Oh, look, we got from here. We could have identified that as an exit. TP, like, zone right there. How? Divergence, blue dot, reversal sign, topped out. Higher high, lower high. Same with this. The divergence, the blue dot, which led to this move. But we want to identify if we're coming to a reversal. What do the lower time frames tell us? No divergence yet. Is the 1-hour? Divergence is happening, but it doesn't look cooked yet to make that move. But it wants to try and reverse, you can see. So we're paying attention on a lower time frame now that we want to see if this is an add-on zone. If we're going to break that, this downtrend here. We can probably get rid of that. Your charts are going to look crazy, but when you draw them, you'll understand what it is, and you'll come up with ways to clean it up. But I understand what my charts are doing because I've come up with habits. I've come up with, things that help me understand. With color, green means pretty good, red means danger. I usually like to take bias out, but when it comes to support resistance, I like to make them objective and have some sentiment to urge, to give you some urgency and conviction as to that being a potential take profit zone or close the trade zone, you know, that's okay to have some color bias, right? So 4 hour, we want to dig under the hood. We want to look for that divergence. Okay, what's a 2 hour showing us there? Popped out, no divergence. So it is a good move, but it's not a juicer. It's hitting resistance. Rejected. No candle close above on the 4 hour. 4 hours is my favorite. So even if I'm working with high time frame, 4 hour candle close above or below is a good reversal time frame to use on the low time frames, or, you know, zooming in for sniping. The lower time frames, if you're starting with a 2 or 1, 4 hours good for looking at a macro view. Even though it's not higher time frame, you're looking at the lower time frame, so your macro is going to be the 4 hour. So it's respecting this trend. It's faking out lots, and if you were too zoomed in, that would have been like, oh, go, go, go. No, just kidding. Faked you out. So we're going to keep going. We want to look, we're waiting for divergence. Good candle close on the 4 hour. What's the 2 hour showing us? Coming down, so I wouldn't add here. I wouldn't enter or do anything here. I'm just gonna let my shit stay down there still, because this is the 2 hour and this isn't reversed yet. High time frame, what's it telling us? It's going down, it's curling over, so we can expect more down, right? Despite, oh, we got some divergence there. So this could be all the way down here, and you can get all these reversal prints. But the high time frame could show that it's topped out, and you're getting this reversal. We haven't got the drop yet, but it's coming, despite the 1 hour looking like it wants to go up. So that's why it's important to always fucking zoom out. I'm going to keep hammering that into your head. So we're going to keep going. Divergence print. Price is going to want to go down. So we've identified this as a good zone with support. Even up to down to this green box, because our macro, what's it called? Macro 236 is there. Keep going. Bounced off of the zone. Consolidating. 2 hour shows us what? Divergence. All right, we're getting it on the low time frame, so this could be the beginning of the reversal, not the exact reversal. Remember, this shows us early signs. It's a lagging indicator. If we wait for the indication of the reversal, or if we wait for the reversal, it's not going to show us anything. It might, but most of the time it won't. So you got to be preemptive, looking for the signs, right? And you do that by scanning time frames left and right. So we're identifying a possible reversal soon. Bounce off of this zone, because on the 12 hour, what does this look like? Consolidation. It looks like this, but on low time frames, it looks like, oh, you know, we're going on a major uptrend. But that's the 1 hour. It's not huge. It's not a massive move. It's just this. And in the grand scheme of things, a piece of shit. The turd. So we're possibly getting a reversal here. We want to know if we are, so we can start adding to it. We've already broken that trend. We probably have a new trend here. Let's see. Okay, we could possibly be faking out of this. Our 8-hour candle, that's our working time frame. We closed one above it. Right? Oops. It's not confirmed yet. We can maybe sprinkle a bit on. Tiny bit. But when you want to go meat and potatoes and put your entry here is when we've broken this. You know? So back to the 4-hour. Popping out. Got an overbought sign. We're hitting previous macro high. This looks like this danger zone that we've identified. We're getting close to it. Might even reject here. Let's check the order blocks. It's a bullish one with a neutral sentiment. So we'll get probably a reaction. That's why we've rejected there, because we can see so many times that it's been respected as a level. But what does our higher time frame tell us? Does it want to break through? It does. Oscillator going up. Got our bullish divergence print. Volume is slowly turning green. Money flow going neutral. Oh, there we go. There was that small rejection, but now we're printing divergence on 4 hour and reaching a danger zone. So let's continue with the 8-hour. We're starting to get overbought. Again, 8-hour is now our working time frame. We can do this. Even that. When we see divergence, right? So keep going. Rejected. The danger zone. All right, we're printing our divergence now. Double top. Higher high. Despite it not printing, we're getting all the reversal signs. So I'm either taking profit or I'm out. What does the higher time frame tell us? 12-hour. Let's check that. The 12-hour could be printing the divergence. So then we can still get that one move up and before it crashes. Okay? So delete that, delete that, delete that. There we go. Okay, so that's what current price is on Solana. So I would definitely be taking profits here. I wouldn't be adding to the position. Why? Look at that. Major resistance. This is a big resistance zone. It can blow through it, but the chances are, if it's been respected this many times on the daily, you can bet it's going to reject the first time. High conviction. Okay? So let's see if that is major resistance there. I think I did this already. Yeah, the 382. Take that off. You can see it lines up with one of the fib levels. That's one area of confluence. Now let's set a VWAP. That was identified as good support. The price ever comes down there, I believe it could bounce. And let's go from the high. Okay, this area looks really good. the support. So let's look from this high. We just want to find confluence. There you go. We got our confluence. Coming from a high. You could add it to local ones, but that's when you're zoomed in. That becomes your 4-hour low becomes your macro if you're scalping. On the higher time frames, you should still mark these out, because if you're hitting that on a low time frame and it's a high time frame VWAP, you can bet that scalp can turn into a swing trade. So we got our confluence here. I'm just going to dial it in a little more on this high here. That's good enough. You can see that this is going to be a rejection zone. So this is where Sol is at now. We've got our rejection zones. The 382 identified. Let's check for some order blocks. Got a bearish one, so there you go. It's a high confluent area that it's going to reject. I'm going to take profits or open a short, but I started on the 4-hour to identify the type of trade I could take. I saw an entry on the 4-hour, I caught it, then I looked at what the day could do, and I'm like, holy shit, it looks bullish. I can hold on to this longer. But if I saw it on the 4-hour, and then it started getting weak up here, or it started getting weak wherever I identified it, like when it broke out of this channel here. When it broke out of this, and then I saw the day is at the top, I'm not going to hold on to it that long. I'm going to exit when it hits the resistance, like the closest 4-hour confluent resistance. So instead of dropping the VWAPs from the macro on the 4-hour, if I'm using it and I see that the daily is really fucking overcooked, I'm dropping it from the the 4-hour, which is my macro, and look, it lines up with the resistance there, right where it broke out. This is where we caught the trade. This is where resistance was. So I would have exited in this block here, right? It can go higher, but my rules, my system told me danger, right? And I have signs to tell me that, but trading is trading against yourself. You can get really fucking greedy and, you know, get lucky, but you're trading against your own emotions. The market will do whatever it wants. It can show you all these signs but not give a shit about them, right? Same with news. News can change that. So that's time frames in a nutshell. I start from the 4-hour, then look left, look right, or look right then left to identify how long I can hold the trade for, the type of trade it's going to be, my invalidation for the time frame I'm using. Sometimes if I'm on the 4-hour and I'm thinking things are a little shaky and I'm not feeling super confident, it wasn't on a super high conviction level, I will close it at a 2-hour close instead of a 4-hour. Same with if I'm looking on the daily, I will close it on the 4-hour candle close rather than the daily if it's not a high conviction zone. If it's a high conviction zone, I'm closing it at the time frame. What else about time frames? Always zoom out, because if you identify if you identify, for example, this looks like a very strong level. Rejection, rejection, deviation, rejection, reject, 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 support, support, reject. That's the daily. That's a super high time frame. So if price is doing this, on that support, I can scalp this channel while it's consolidating. I can zoom in on the 1 hour, 1 to 2 hour, and trade these moves. While I know the daily is resetting its oscillator while it's going down. If it's going down slowly, the price is just trickling, I'm going to play that range. I'm going to play this range while it's doing that till it gets here, and then it takes off again. So this, and that is where you can scalp on, because you're confident that this level is high conviction support, because you've identified it on the high time frame. So when you zoom in, you know that, hey, even though it's a scalp and we're at all-time high, I know that level was respected multiple times on the daily. So if I want to take a few, quick trades, I'm going to wait till it gets here, because I've seen that as support. But it won't rocket yet, but I can be confident in knowing I will get a part of a move in there. I don't need the whole thing. You don't always need to hit home runs. So all you need is, you don't need this whole thing. You just need this part and that part. And what did you make there? 16%. Why just this part? Rejection, that's your entry. The trend, this horizontal, that retest, that's your entrance. Would it have showed us that on this here? So you could even snipe this entry. Let's do this. Play. Here. Could we have sniped that? That's all we're seeing. But what do the 30-minute and 15-minute thing? Divergence. So we can scalp this and maybe up to here. If everything else is looking bearish above the 1 hour, I'm going to take this trade on the 30-minute. My invalidation will be either the 1 hour or the 30-minute. And my exit, I can see a bearish order block there. Identify this. My favorite areas. Settings. 618, 786. You can see that look like also a level of support or resistance. This block here. Rejected, support, support, rejection, rejection. Are we gonna get rejected? Is that our TP zone? Let's drop another fib or Mac, one of these things. Oh, that's good support. Template, default, but that's the 30-minute. Keep that in mind, because when you look at it on the 4 hour, what does that look like? Looks like that. That's not high conviction, because it's the volume weighted average of just this. That doesn't mean much for the grand scheme of things. That doesn't mean much for the macro. But for the 30-minute, that's more than enough confirmation. That's more than enough to know that that can be a reaction zone to give you something like this. A new downtrend, right? And then on the higher time frame, what does that look like? That just looks like normal price action. Up, then down, double bottom. Right? So back to that. Like I was saying, could we have sniped that? I'm seeing good signs that that is a good entry. Right here, right there. Put I don't really need to measure it, because if it's something that I'm planning, then I'll leave that long tool. You can start off with using it. There's nothing wrong with it, but I've eventually gotten used to not using it because I like having as little clutter as possible. So the trend is down here. I can snipe this entry, but really I'm trading the 30-minute. Let's, for this example's sake, say that anything higher than the 4-hour is bearish. Draw my trend. Also lines up with trend. So I'm taking this trade. My invalidation, if I was around the computer, would be a candle close below, give it some breathing room, below here. That's a little obvious where the stop loss is, right? Candle close. It might even wick down, come back in. We're looking at the 30 minutes. But on the 30-minute, a 1 hour is probably best to have your confirmation of the invalidation. This 30 minutes too quick and too volatile. So from this point on, let's see what happens. We caught that trade. But are we rejecting? Are we catching our rejection zone? Rejected. There. This is the example that I like to show. Higher high. Oh, we're on an uptrend. But really, pretend this was a high time frame. We're getting signs of a reversal. It shows that we have divergence. It shows that the oscillator, the strength is curling. We have all this shit here telling us overbought, overbought. Blue dot, sharp down move coming. We're in a danger zone. Now we've seen respected as, resistance and support. We're in the 618 and 786 zone for a reaction. What happens? There. Respected the trend. Oscillator hasn't reset yet though. We're bouncing off trend. We're getting a nice overbought signal, but we don't have much confluence as that being an overbought signal. So we know that that's our rejection zone. We don't have to keep that fib there because we have the box to tell us. But we'll take a fib from this to this. Template full. Macro, not macro, but it lines up with a 50 fib. Keep 50, 236, and the 618 just in case, because I always like to keep at least one fib level as a backup plan, plan B. Because if you look at the 618, it also is good support. Why? We stretch this out. You can see lots in this area. Lots of price action being respected in that zone. So I'm going to keep that there. And this is a scalp. I would have taken profits here already, but can I grow this into a swing because it's respecting this? Oops. It seems to be respecting that. I haven't had a 1 hour close below this yet. Our entry is down here. See, even just by examples, how I was able to snipe that entry, this example, it worked. Some examples don't work. Some instances when I try to enter a trade don't work. But I showed you my P&L. My overall P&L across all my accounts, I think is like 38. Some of them I have higher, but average is about 38 to 37. If I'm risking 1 to 7 or 1 to 3, that's pretty fucking good. And the reason why I can keep those be in profit with that win rate is because I respect my invalidations. Sometimes they take off without me, but I won't lose money that I never, that was never unrealized. That was never in my trade. But if you give money back to the market in a round trip, that's a shitty feeling. Lock in profits, even if it's bit by bit, and I'll show you how to do that with the account structure later. But this zone we can identify as a reaction zone. A bullish reaction zone, hopefully. Okay, 1 hour. What's it showing? Did we have a candle close? Yes, we did. I either closed it or took profits. But like I said, this example, the higher time frames are bearish. So I'm exiting here. Locked in profits. I took profits here, exited the full trade there. We got this. So it depends on you what you want to do up here, how much you want to take out. And it depends here if you want to hold on. I wouldn't, like I said, macro, bearish. So I'm not going to ride that down. Because what that looks like on a higher time frame, let's say the 6 hour, that looks like that. That's nothing, man. We're on a downtrend. Deviated, but this is the move that pops out of it. But like I said, example's sake, higher time frames are bearish, right? So invalidation, it's the time frame that you're in, or if you're on a high time frame, you're not confident, 4 hour candle close. If you're scalping and you're not looking at the 1 to 4 hour, it's either a 4 hour candle close if you are very bullish, but if you're not, it's a 1 or the time frame that you're working on. If it's the 2 hour, you can still look at the 4 if you're bullish, but if it's the 2 hour and you're not bullish, the higher time frames aren't showing any bullish signs, it's the 2 hour. Or you can go 1 hour, but wait for the candle close because you will get faked out lots of times. This, look at that. So many times that could have been faked out. 1, 2, 3. If you set your stop loss there, you would have been out. Hard stop loss. But if you were watching, candle close, then you would have caught this move. But you can only do that if you have the time, if you are in front of, if you're playing games, or if you're, I don't know what the fuck you want to do on your computer. Hopefully it's Overwatch or Marvel Rivals. Set an alert for yourself, and then when you hear it go off on your phone or whatever, then just alt tab and like pay attention to it. Like 4 hours, set a timer, or set another, set a hard stop if you want, if it goes way too low, but the price will do this and then take off. It's a tactic for someone that is able to look at the chart, right? You don't have to stare at the whole fucking 4 hours like this. You just got to know that it potentially is about to be invalidated, right? Time frames, super important. Know when you should stick to that time frame, or to know when you can scale up, or to know when you want to snipe that entry. I'll give more examples in the whole overview, putting everything together video. I think that's it for this one. Peace.